Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about my Witcher journey, the Witcher vlog. As you know, I'm playing the board game, I'm playing the video game Witcher 3, and I'm also reading the books. So you can basically say I'm one third into everything, even though the board game is a bit different because it's a restricted gameplay. It's not a campaign, but you can say a third in. Still, meaning I've tried it so much, so I think I know a third of it so far. And I would like to just start to show you some pictures and talk about where I am in the different Witcher formats. Let's start with the book. I'm at Time of Contempt. Um, and that's the second book in the Witcher saga, but it's my fourth Witcher book because I've read the short story collections, The Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny. I have a conversation together with Rick here on the channel when it comes to Bounds of Reasons from Sword of Destiny, if you are interested to listen to that. And I'm also starting to compare the book, the board game, and the video game. I think these formats are very different from each other. The more you think about that, and I think that's interesting to you to comment upon and reflect upon if you agree what I'm thinking. If we jump into the board game immediately, um, this is the player card. You act or you play as a witcher, and the idea is to um, kill 3 monsters and gain 1 trophy. And you gain 1 trophy by specializing in a special skill. You have different skills like combat, alchemy, for example, and you have a special ability as well. There are levels 1 to 5 or 0 to 5. When you reach 5 in one of these skills, you are allowed to meditate. But before you meditate, you have to kill 3 monsters. If you play solo, you have to do it as quick as possible because there is a ranking system. And if you play against other players, of course, you need to do this as quick as possible so no other Witcher, uh, wins before you. So it's a competition. Actually, the board game is not so mindful. If we talk about mindfulness and reading, like I did yesterday on the channel, if you haven't watched that yet. This is the board game, and you who know your Witcher, you can see that there are different geographical locations or cities or other points of interest that you recognize from the game or the book, depending on what you've done. And you have to move between these geographical locations, and in different cities and places you can play dice poker. You can challenge a Witcher, for example, and if you're more than one player playing, you can bet. If you are 3 players, then the third player is not who's watching actually the Witcher fight. He can bet money in the game to see who wins. You can also in the cities upgrade your skills, like alchemy, for example. If you upgrade alchemy, you will get potions that you can use when you fight monsters. You can also choose to do so-called city events. Something exciting happens in the city. It's on the back of the city event card, and it's a short story basically about something happening. Someone who's sick, maybe you need to help them. Maybe there is a fight in the city. You have to choose if you will interact in the fight or if you avoid it. There is also outside city events, so to speak. When you're walking out into nature, you can choose between city events or these outside of city events, and basically you go into the forest more or less, and there you might need to find herbs, or maybe there is a sorcerer there you need to help, or sometimes you actually can get something called a trail, a monster trail. You get the hunch that there is a monster somewhere in the Witcher world, and you draw special cards for that, and that will tell you where the monster is, and you have to go there. You can go there to fight the monster, and if you do, you will get money for that, and that is of course very thematic from a Witcher point of view. Um, the board game is quick paced, I would say, and if we talk Witcher themes here, I think we will get into the shoes of Geralt, if we talk about Geralt here, because it's difficult choices for him. Should he take the challenge and attack the monster and get the money, or should he do something else? Should he help people who ask for help, or maybe he doesn't have time for that? Because we have to win this competition, so to speak, to kill 3 monsters and meditate, which also is a very important part of the Witcher game so far. I haven't seen that so much in the books, but in the video game, the meditation is important to replenish your energy, for example. And the board game also has these miniatures with monsters. This is not the best of photos, I understand that, but just to get an idea how it can look on the table when you play the game. This is the 4 monsters, and actually the Witcher I think to the left from your side, you will see where the Witcher are. So these monsters, they also add to the feeling of the Witcher game, especially if you paint them as well. So the game, I think, captures the feeling, of being stressed, and it's not easy choices that Geralt has to make. And I think the city events and the outside city events, they are very thematic as well. So I really enjoy the game. However, since it's stressful, as you know, I'm quite a slow person. I sometimes feel it's a bit rushed because I would like to explore more, and you don't have time to explore. But that means you can replay it many, many times. It is not a campaign game. There will come a campaign game called Witcher Legacy. That is probably huge. But this one you can play for, I think, 2 hours, and then you're done with it, and then you can put it away and maybe play it next month. So I think the game is good if you're interested in the board game, Witcher the Old World, it's called. If we compare the board game with the video game, The Witcher 3, that is something very, very different, I would say, because you are, of course, there is a different kind of immersion. If you play the board game, you have the immersion, the imagination in your head. I think that's very beautiful with board games. In the video game, you see everything, you hear everything, and the immersion, as I talked about before, is great in this game with the wind and the sounds and the people talking to you, and also the environments are very, very beautiful. But of course, you can take everything in your own pace. Still, there is a push to find Siri basically in this game, and depending on how you play, you can run for that or you can play it slow. I advise you to play it slow. There are many, many side quests, and those side quests can be compared with the city events and the outside city events that are in the board game, because you can choose to do them if you want to, or you can role play as a witch, meaning that you don't have time to do different things, or maybe there are tasks that you don't want to do. You can totally in the video game role play as with the Witcher code that Geralt has. He always wants money for it, and he doesn't consider all the monsters being monsters, and he's also critical to power, I would say, people in power. So you can play that out in the Witcher video game if you want to. Basically, you can do that in the board game too, but it becomes even more obvious in the video game. As I mentioned, I thought I had finished the Witcher 3 yesterday, but it was only Act 1. Maybe a bit surprised by that, but not disappointed. It's a great game, so I will continue playing, but it's a huge game. So compared to the board game, the Witcher 3 game is, takes a lot of time, and the board game you can do just for 1 or 2 hours and then just put it away. I think that's kind of nice. You have actually in the video game, you have the signs that you can use. Ard and Igni, for example, different kind of signs. If you're watching this video, you know you're Witcher, I'm sure. So different magical powers that Geralt has because of his mutant, because it's a mutant. You also have that in the board game, meaning that you play out different cards, and the cards represent these signs that you find in the video game and that you also find in the books. So that is a great thing and something you can really relate to between the board game and the video game. So far, I tried to play Witcher 3 slow. I also saw an interview with the developers who have it's a clear quest structure, chapters, more or less, and some of the quests are related to the chapters in the books. I think that's very nice and that's very honorable that they honor the source material. It means that when you come home from work or maybe if you study, you can just sit down and just play out one of these quests and then put the game away for a while. I think they made it the game good in that sense. A different thing from the board game is, of course, that all these geographical locations, you can see them as I mentioned before, and that even, I mean, you can say that adds immersion, but you can also say that maybe that decreases immersion in the meaning when you play the board game and also when you're reading the books, you can use your imagination. The imagination is crushed a bit or destroyed a bit in the video game because you see everything, but I don't think that's such a big deal for none of us. It's great to see how someone has interpreted the Witcher world, but that is only one interpretation. You have your own as well. When it comes to the books, I think there is a major difference point of view, which point of view you have, because both in the board game and both in the video game, you are a Witcher. Let's say you're a Geralt in all those two formats of Witcher. But actually in the books, the point of view characters are not so much with Geralt so far, actually. I think it's a focus on Ciri and on Yennefer and Dandelion, other characters. And actually Geralt is a bit maybe in the background, not always, but he's kind of a introvert and passive character. He's more of an observer, I think, that comments on what's happening. I also think that the many characters that are in The Witcher, you are rewarded if you have read all the books so far, the short stories and the Blood of Elves, and now I'm at the Time of Contempt, as I've told you. You will become rewarded because characters are coming back and you understand what kind of adventures they are mentioning in the Witcher saga when they are referring to short stories in the first two books. That is actually connected to the video game, where there are connections to the chapters in the books and also stories, and I think also references when they are speaking to each other. Yennefer and Geralt and Dandelion and Geralt too, they refer to earlier adventures. So I think all these three formats overlap in different ways. So that was my take on the Witcher journey I'm on. I think it's interesting to compare the three formats. As you can hear, I haven't watched the TV show. Maybe I will do it, but I've been advised not to, so I listen carefully to that advice. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe and share if you want to. There are other projects I'm interested in on doing similar things with, and one book I'm thinking especially of right now is actually The Expanse. That's a sci-fi, and The Expanse is also a TV show, as you probably know, that has been well received, and it will become a video game, but it will take some time. I think it will be released next year or maybe the year after. So I think this kind of comparison is interesting, and I think from a lore perspective, you can learn a lot by approaching the book or the IP, I think you say, that you like. In that way, you can learn a lot because you also see how other people have interpreted into board games or video games from the source material that, in this case, is a book. Actually, I also heard that the video game Citizen Sleeper, which is a completely different game, kind of a cyberpunk game, but very critical to temporary work, let's say, the gig economy. And it's now 2 video games, but the third initiative from the company will be that it will become a board game. So I think this is interesting. Different ways of telling stories and different ways of experience different IPs and different stories. I think that's great for us. So what are your thoughts on these 3 formats of The Witcher? Let me know, and I'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.